you know, the deal with Benteke is you've got Benteke, who is a reputed Liverpool killer,
Yes.
and he was at Villa. If nothing else, we saved ourselves losing 3 points every time we play Villa because Benteke scores 2 goals. Is that worth 32 million pounds? No.
No.
But so you've got Benteke, who just he doesn't fit with this group. Um, that's not to say that I don't believe. Klopp had said that he liked Benteke even before he came to Liverpool. So maybe it's something they can work with. But right now, this is a team that they're unbalanced. They are full of central attacking midfielders.
Uh huh.
We have one winger on the team, and that's Jordan Ibe. And we don't have a striker who can consistently put the ball in the net.
Right.
And the defense is falling apart just due to injuries. So it's an extremely unbalanced Liverpool team right now. Klopp definitely has his work cut out for him. I still think Liverpool are a team that on any given week they can win a match 4-0.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not worried about 4-0. I want some 1-0s or some 2-1s. And it is not going to be easy anytime soon, I don't think.
Real quick, what do we make of Watford? I think we've spent so much time on two different ends of the table talking about how amazing Leicester has been and how pitiful Chelsea has been. And here's now Watford, who's, I believe, if I take a quick look at the table here, which we'll get to in a minute, they're seventh and just 1 point out of a Champions League spot. For a team that, I think everybody was thinking, before the season, they're good enough to stay up, maybe in that 13-14 range. And who knows, maybe that's where they'll end up. But right now, this is a team that looks destined for no worse than top half of the table.
Watford went out and they purchased a certain style of player over the summer, knowing they were coming into the Premier League, where everyone else has wanted to get quick and tricky. Watford said, "Shit on you, we're going to get big and hard as hell to beat."
Yes.
And that's basically what they've done, and they've proven to be just a matchup nightmare for everyone because they're different than everybody else. I mean, that's the thing; they're different, and it's just like we talk about football. You run into a team that it's like playing Navy. Navy runs an offense that no one else in the country runs.
Right.
Watford are built like pretty much no one else in the Premier League are built. Well, they're built actually physically kind of like West Brom, but by God, they're getting a hell of a lot more out of their players than West Brom.
Oh, absolutely.
So Watford have done a fantastic job. And the thing is, here's the thing, Ed, they're not relying on 3-2, 4-3 wins. They're solid. And when you're that solid, that's going to really give you the chance to stay in the race, to finish in the top 10, because you're not relying on lightning in a bottle and having to score 2 or 3 goals a game.
Right. I think this team has been revelations. Troy Deeney, Ingolo, they've been so good and so balanced this entire Premier League season. I think almost more than Leicester, they seem like a team built for the long-term future of staying high in this Premier League. And I think it's amazing to see a team come right up from the Championship and make a name for themselves in the top flight. So that is all credit goes to what they're doing over at Watford right now. They are now a very tough opponent. As we go to the South Coast, Harry Kane did literally everything, and I mean everything himself, and plowed through everyone for a goal on the way to a goal in his 100th appearance for the club. Minutes later, Kyle Walker found a Dele Alli fabulous as he kicked Tottenham into 4th place at Christmas with a win at Southampton. Ronald Koeman's men now suddenly, well, not even suddenly, it's been going on for a while now, I suppose. They are struggling heavily, as outside of the first 20 minutes of that match, they could not really muster much of an attack that finishes Southampton 0, Tottenham 2. Wes, I think this shows sort of the temerity of this Tottenham team to come back after what really was a disaster of a loss last week against Newcastle, to come right back out on a Saturday. A tough place to play, St. Mary's, a team is wanting to kind of right the ship, wanting to beat their old manager, Mauricio Pochettino, and they have really good players. They looked really threatening. Tottenham weathered the storm, got their goals, and then held on in a way that they haven't really done earlier in this season at times. And I think that that's a very encouraging sign, just when we're starting to hear the stories of, a Pochettino team is going to fall apart midway towards the end of the season. They're going to get gassed and they're done. Maybe we can pump the brakes on that just a little bit now.
I mean, that is definitely still something that they're going to have to keep an eye on. And mainly just because that's been the trend of Pochettino-based teams. But right now, I mean, I think they've really exceeded expectation thus far this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think people thought they would sit between that 7-4 range, but I think you could have gotten a really good money line that against them being fourth place at Christmas.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I mean, you think about it because, of course, your normal logic says, Arsenal, Chelsea, United, and City. Sentimental logic seems to think Liverpool right there at that fifth spot. So, most people kind of think, well, Tottenham 5 or 6. Well, you're ahead of Chelsea. You're ahead of Liverpool.
Ahead of United.
You're ahead of United at this point. So, obviously, I mean, to me, that says we're having a really good season right here at Tottenham.
Yeah.
And for Tottenham, little unlucky, a few balls here, a few balls there, and they might even be higher than fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. How many? It's not even the drop points like you think about. Against Leicester going up 1 and then immediately allowing an equalizer at their place. Stoke being up 2 and they come back in the final 15. Newcastle last week. You also think back to matches like the Liverpool, Everton, and Chelsea 0-0 draws, which really Tottenham could have come out of any of those with a win, especially I think in Everton and Liverpool. I think they really controlled large portions of that game and had great opportunities. And Tim Howard and Simon Mignolet in both of those really did fabulous jobs in net. And that sort of prevented them. So if you think about it, you give them, if you just give them, let's say, 4 more points, all of a sudden they're third place. And that's crazy to think about. Now, they're going to have to take their chances going forward. Still only 7 wins. That's the lowest number of wins in the top 7. But only having 2 losses. The only team that has lost fewer matches than them this year is Leicester. So they've been able to grind out results, get points where maybe earlier Spurs teams wouldn't, and hold on. The Newcastle aside, they've been able to do that. I do think they're going to need to do a very interesting balancing act once we get back into Europa. Once we see how far we can get into the FA Cup, maybe Leicester will do us a favor and knock us again out in the 3rd round, and we won't have to deal with that pesky tournament and add more matches to our schedule. But this is a very interesting period. We'll see how Tottenham weaves through this Christmas holiday period here, and how their fitness holds up. Real quick, though, I do want to ask you if you have any thoughts, because I can't really figure out, besides maybe just attrition, what's going wrong at Southampton right now? Because they still have some good pieces. Sadio Mane, Graziano Pelle, Dusan Tadic. There are guys out there. What's going on to you, in your opinion, at Southampton?
My bigger problem with them has been at the back.
True.
They've been shipping more goals this season than they have in the past. They just don't look quite as solid at the back, and when they're not that solid at the back, they lose a lot of their build-up play. And that to me, that's been where they've had some problems this year. But I mean, do take into account, it's tough. It's tough to lose guys every year.
Yes.
It's tough to lose guys that you count on week in and week out every year. It's tough to lose them, and for Southampton, whatever you want to say, Southampton have definitely, I mean, they've lost nearly an entire starting 11.
Yes.
So that will eventually take its toll and wear you down some, especially when it comes to your depth, because I mean, a lot of these guys playing now they used to be the depth at Southampton, and maybe you haven't adequately replaced those guys depth wise.
Yeah, I think that's the issue is that they had built up a rather good starting 11, but just didn't have the back rotation to come in and replace those guys. Virgil van Dijk has been pretty good at times in back this year for Southampton, but just not enough stability back there to be good on a consistent basis overall in that back line. All right, the final match we're going to discuss now today is the one that took place on Monday Night Football. It was going to be the match for the title of second place West. And despite, in my opinion, and obviously in the stats as well, despite bossing most of the game through possession and shots, the citizens of Manchester fall at the Emirates. Goals from Theo Walcott and Olivier Giroud put Arsenal into second place. Yaya Toure tried to bring City back all by himself in with no sense of sarcasm, was an absolutely inspired performance towards the end there by Yaya Toure. He could only get one of the two goals they needed, though, before time, as it was Arsenal 2, Manchester City 1. For the second straight year, West, Arsenal beats City at the Emirates and almost in sort of the exact same fashion, a letting City hold the ball, and then springing on the counter. And this is something that we've seen Arsenal do at times to great benefit. This Manchester City game, last year's Manchester City game, we've also seen this be kind of to their detriment. If we took in last year's North London derby at White Hart Lane, Arsenal scored their one goal on the counter, but by allowing Tottenham to possess so much of the ball, it allowed them to keep growing in confidence, and that confidence was eventually rewarded with 2 Harry Kane goals in the second half. I think it's a very interesting decision that they keep going back to this, because I think this is a very big gamble to play this kind of style against a quality team like City. Kevin De Bruyne missed 2 pretty good chances that if he takes either one, it blows up their entire system completely and how they have to then go after the game being down a goal. So it's working against City at least, but I'm a little surprised that Arsenal and Arsene keep using this system against top clubs.
Arsene is a very proud, hard-headed Frenchman.
That's true.
Arsene, nearly 20 years now at Arsenal. He's a guy who will tell you and gladly tell you that he's won nearly everything there is to win, except the Champions League.
Well,
actually, take that back. Did he win the one at Monaco?
I don't think so.
Don't worry about it. Maybe they made the finals. That was it. He'll tell you he's played a certain style. That's the style he's going to play. And he's not going to change it just because of a pesky thing like the opponent.
Yeah.
As we see on days where things are going their way, Arsenal are absolutely unstoppable. They have guys, especially, somebody like Theo Walcott, they are so good at springing a counterattack because we've seen it from Arsenal, they have such good passers. They have guys who are so good with the ball at their feet, and they have some speed to get out on the wings and move forward. They're so good at dropping that counter. I almost think sometimes maybe they should try to go to more of that than Wenger's little possession-based game that he likes to play. But, I mean, here's my thing. When I see Arsenal play like that, I want to sit there and say this is the team that's going to win the Premier League, hands down. But, I mean, the problem is what you run into is they did this. What are they going to do next week? They could easily lose 3-1 next week.
Yes, that's true.
And, yes, I guess you could say, well, everyone could, Wes. But Arsenal just makes such a habit out of playing so well. and then letting down. So